developed a comprehensive oil and gas exploration proposal for the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, otherwise known as ANWR. It details a 7-year exploration plan to complete studies and exploration on this federal land.
Senator John McCain says he'll support the legislation, and the purchasing of votes, you can believe, is in progress. Few in the media are talking about the oil drilling connected to this tax bill.
ANWR, the environmental gem the left has been able to protect until now.
Are the major consequences of drilling in ANWR?
Well, let's look at lessons learned over the last 30 years when the Trans-Alaska Oil Pipeline was finally allowed to be built, and there were the threats then and the fears that the caribou herds would diminish and die off. And no, the caribou herds are actually thriving, they're flourishing. There have not been the adverse impacts on the caribou herd, so we anticipate the same thing as we tap more energy supplies up on the North Slope in ANWR, and as we build a natural gas pipeline also that's underway at this point.
This means opening federal lands for oil and gas production, opening offshore areas, and revoking policies that are imposing unnecessary restrictions on innovative new exploration.
The United States has now seen 45 different presidents, yet not a single one has been the same. And each one has had a completely different set of viewpoints than the one previous. In 1903, Theodore Roosevelt set aside 19 million acres of protected land in western Alaska. This would go on to be known as the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. 115 years later, it faces its largest foe, those who decided to protect it in the first place, humans. These are the same beings that once recognized an area so unique in its beauty it was worth protecting for years to come. The same beings that saw one of the last true glimpses of untouched American soil. These are the same beings that were once marveled by the 280 bird species that use ANWR as a nesting site. We could have never predicted the quotation marks that supposedly go around the words protected lands. In 2004, the United States Geological Survey came out with an estimate of 4.3 to 11.8 billion barrels of oil that lied underneath the soil of the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. And just like that, just as quickly as the wind changes, perspectives change. Our 45th President of the United States, Donald Trump, has made it clear that he values economic wealth over aesthetic value. We are now facing a gray area. Can protected land become public again? Imagine a world without Yosemite. 4.1 million people from around the world visit this natural beauty. To many, these protected lands are seen as the heart of America, as the last true pieces of untouched land. On December of 2017, the fear became a reality, as a Republican tax bill was passed which agreed to re-evaluate ANWR's borders. This re-evaluation included 1.5 million acres of land that would no longer be preserved. The native peoples that live there call it the center of life, because of all the migratory animals that travel here to breed. The locals, however, see this as an opportunity to gain more money, on top of their $1,800 resource tax. The people of Alaska are the ones that get the most hurt by this agreement. They face all the downsides to resource development. These accidents happen in their own backyards. And for what? A measly $1,800? Alaska alone brings in $6 billion from oil in a single year. Does $1,800 still seem like a lot to you? Even Josh Kindred, a representative of Alaska Oil and Gas Association, stated that it's ironic and challenging for a state that is so dependent on a resource extraction, yet at the same time feeling the direct impacts of climate change the heaviest. It's sad to see a state that 90% of its annual income is brought in by an unsustainable resource. The oil industry provides 113,000 jobs to Alaskans. So what happens to all these people when the oil runs out? We are going to see an economic collapse of a size we've never seen before. We are seeing more and more headlines on the government choosing money over the environment. If we do not take a stand soon, climate change will occur, and this time at a much greater pace, and our Earth will continue to sicken. Ignorance of a few cannot and will no longer represent the thoughts of many. Because when it comes down to it, money cannot buy us time, nor undo the damage we've already done.